Welcome to Remembering Smallville,
a Smallville rewatch podcast.
I'm Daniel.
I'm Nicole.
I'm Kim.
And I'm Brett.
So, everyone, I've got another fun thing to talk about today, and it's actually really related to this episode. Do you remember instant messaging?
Oh,
Yes.
So I actually learned how to truly type doing instant messaging. Like, I became real fast at it because you had to, because it was instant. You could actually talk. I remember going home after school in middle school and talking to the girl I liked on MSN Messenger.
Oh, yes.
And it was so exciting. That was the best. Do you remember those days? Let's talk about that.
So I had a MySpace account,
Oh, wow.
but I did not have instant messenger. And so, but when I'd be at friends' houses, I'd be like, let's do it.
I totally had MSN Messenger. I did chat a little bit. It wasn't my favorite thing to do, but I did do it a little bit. The more connection I have to that is a different job that I had, where I worked at a place doing a relay for deaf and hard of hearing individuals.
Oh.
So you took the phone call and you would type what the person speaks, and you would read what the deaf or hard of hearing individual would type. And so you had to be the intermediary. So you had to type as fast as someone speaks on the phone, which doesn't sound crazy, but you get people that speak, no offense, like Nicole. They speak at that speed, and you have to, and it's not just the words, you have to do tone and other sounds you hear. And it's a crazy thing, but yeah, being able to type an instant message like that, absolutely.
So Brett's sister worked there during the day. Brett worked there at night, so he would get naughty calls. And Brett would have to say whatever.
That's amazing.
That's so funny. That is so funny.
What
Oh
about
my
you,
gosh.
Nicole?
Well, I used Instant Messenger. I remember we chatted on there all the time. I remember getting sweaty, as you're about to push enter to send a message that was kind of flirty, and you're like, oh my gosh.
They're going to see it.
I'm gonna send it. I'm gonna send it. Okay, I'll send it. And then you're like, okay, they're typing. The dots are whatever. How you know they're typing or whatever. And I was like, okay. And then it comes in. You're like, wow, shit. They don't care. And then because I'm obsessive about stuff, I would write down those conversations in my journal, back and forth.
You would?
Mm-hmm. I have them in my journals.
We're going to use them as deterrents for our children to...
There was this boy. I have actually a story because it's in my psyche of how messed up I am. There was this boy I liked. He was on Messenger, and I was like, oh, this is my chance. So, for some reason, my awesome way to get chatting was, oh, how many brothers and sisters do you have? Or something stupid, some dumb question. And then he was like, oh, yeah, I've got a bunch of nieces or something. And I didn't have any. I was like, well, I've got a bunch of aunts and uncles. He's like, well, I don't care about that. And I was like, okay.
He said that?
Yeah.
Noted.
geez.
Noted.
So,
How old were you?
I don't know, 14, 15. It's fine.
Old enough
You're
to
like,
be
well, I
done.
don't care about you.
He was never into me. It's fine.
It's okay. You ended up with Daniel. Better
true.
choice.
Well, how does this tie into Messenger? Just the emails?
Yeah, we get to... There's just this one part. The reason why I wanted to talk about in this episode is there was a part where Dr. Swan messages Clark as an instant message. And it's like, you've got an instant message. And I was like, that was fast. And then I was
fast.
like, yeah, we were pretty fast with our instant messages back then. Now we have texts, which are instant messages. And we have, all these other apps. And we still don't text each other back very well.
That would be me.
That was pointed at us.
I am very well known for being a terrible responder to texts.
Me too.
I had one friend call me out, and he said, why do you never text back? And I had another friend that overheard that and said, oh no, whenever we text Brett, we just know we're going to expect it maybe that night or maybe never. We don't know.
3 to 5 business days.
It's fine. It has nothing to do with whether Brett likes us or not. He just doesn't respond.
Yep.
And it's true.
Well, speaking of not responding, Clark isn't very good at responding to things in this particular episode. We're going to be talking about Season 2, Episode 17, Rosetta.
When Clark feels compelled to insert the ship's key into the slot on the cave wall, he is suddenly able to understand the cave's strange symbols and is contacted by a mysterious Dr. Virgil Swan, who may hold the answers he seeks about his home planet.
If you're here, you probably like Smallville. So show Smallville some love and click that like button. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Remembering Smallville so that you can remember it and stop forgetting about all of these wonderful episodes in the beginning where Nell is the freaking worst and Lana is playing games with Clark's heart and Chloe never gets to have the thing that she loves most.
Okay, so when this started, I had never seen this before. And so I was like, oh, Nicole's going to love this. Like, as we enter in the Kansas fields of the center of America.
The heart of America.
Joy of our nation.
And then I realized it was a dream.
Was it a dream?
Yes.
I don't, right?
Oh.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, it was because he doesn't have the key.
Yeah.
But I was in my notes, I was like, is this real? Is it a dream? Is it real? Oh, it's a dream. It's a dream. Okay.
I was like, flying? The cave. The octagon.
And then waking up in a random street.
Right?
And then, of course, Lex is doing some late night driving.
Always.
Or early morning.
Well, it has to be early morning because by the time Clark, I'm assuming, he gets in Lex's car, Lex drives him home, the sun's up. Mm-hmm. So it's got to be like 4 in the morning or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what Lex is doing.
Lex is fully clothed in his
he's
suit.
off to work.
In Clark's dream, did you notice how when you put the octagon in the cave wall, did you notice how the symbols line up?
They match.
They match the symbols in
Around,
those spots.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this particular part where Clark wakes up because of the cave next to a road or on the road in this very spot is actually foreshadowing for a season opener that will happen later.
Oh, really?
Really?
It absolutely is. So I think it's season 4's opener.
I think so.
So remember this particular episode, this very event where Clark wakes up in the road after being in the cave. Doesn't matter if it's in a dream or not. And just think about that for a little bit and keep it in your brain.
Well, in 2 years, we can come talk about it.
So when we first get to the Kent farm, Clark's like, I've been out.
Well, at least they noticed he was gone for once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, we've been worried sick at home doing nothing. If your kid's always ending up places, buy him a cell phone.
I mean, I think I would worry about people getting a hold of him, like scientists getting a hold of
Yeah.
him. But I'm like, would you really worry? Because like nothing can hurt him.
I think it's just you're a teen.
Yeah.
Were you
Making
diddling
bad
someone? What were you doing? Where have you been?
Were you breaking something? Were you breaking
Yeah.
the law? Are
Yeah.
we going to have to deal with the fallout of whatever problem you just created?
True.
Especially with Clark. What did you break that we're now going to have to pay for?
Right, exactly. How many jet skis did you buy tonight?
And his parents, Martha and Jonathan, are like really worried because he keeps talking about the dream about the cave and they don't want him to think and talk about the cave because they're worried that he's going to want to like go back to his biological parents or something. I understand the worry to an extent.
We know that from the previous episode where Martha was sick, that's why she hid the key in the first place, because she's terrified that Clark is going to go off. He's going to gain some new knowledge about where he comes from and he's going to go seek it out or leave them or not be into being a Kansas farm boy anymore.
I also think that it's kind of a strange thing. I'm actually siding with the Kents a little bit on this. You've got a son that you know is from space. Now there's ancient caves that somehow he's connected to.
Yeah.
Not sure I'm seeing the connection. Ancient indigenous people.
But I feel like
to
they should
this.
be more understanding of his curiosity.
Absolutely.
And treat it differently than, no, you can never ever go there. You know, like,
I think they're just saying, wait, maybe not old enough yet.
I agree. I think they're going about it wrong, though. I would be like, let us be a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can
That would be
monitor
better.
it.
that would have helped so much, especially with the way the episode ends. But we get to the mansion and we get what part of this plot really is. This is kind of this cave and the things that are around this cave and the stuff that you're about to see at the end of this episode. This is the plot of Smallville, pretty much.
Really?
Oh, yeah. We're actually getting fully into the plot, the real big overarching plot of most of the show, would you say, Brett?
Just about, yeah. You're like, hey, I am from space. You were sent here intentionally.
Yes, because again, the show is about his journey through all this adversity and all this drama to becoming Superman. Part of that means interacting with the knowledge that his father left behind. So if you ever watched other Superman movies, He's always sent along with some way to kind of communicate with a form of his father.
Yes.
And so
they do that
So,
in this?
well, that's the whole point of Smallville is we
The backstory.
get the backstory of what was it like for him to learn about his parents, to communicate with that information that was left behind for him. How did it affect him growing up? That's what we're going to get into.
I love it.
So Dr. Walden comes to Lex and is like, I'm taking a piece of the wall to science factory. And Lex is like, no, you're not. You have 3 days. Give me some information. You're not taking a piece of the wall out because that's old school archaeology and we don't do that anymore, which I kind of agree with.
Yeah.
Bring the tech to the old stuff. Don't
Yeah.
take the old stuff to the tech.
Yeah, you're not going to cut a piece out of the cave wall. Oh, but other people have done it. Don't care. Nope.
Yeah.
He's
So I
so
liked Lex
sour.
with that. And he's like, get some results because you're kind of annoying.
This episode is such a early season episode because what are they studying at school? What assignment do they have right now during this particular episode?
Genealogy.
Family tree project?
I think we see the problems of why you shouldn't in school, maybe. Because everyone struggles.
Yeah, Pete is like all excited because his family's been in Smallville for years and years and years and years, generations, like since the founding. And everybody else is like, well, my family's kind of not normal.
So our family is mixed, right? Bryn was from a previous marriage. So whenever she'd do family tree stuff at school, it'd be like our family tree and then like Ryan, her dad, over here. Or Brett.
That's funny.
I loved it.
So while they're talking about this, Clark gets a splitting headache and a loud screeching noise. Just to call out to anyone and preparing you, that noise does not go away for some time.
Yeah, that noise is a recurring
All right.
noise.
So I want us to use our poetic wordings. Describe that sound.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
Okay, I would say it is a high-pitched multitonal sound that has
She said poetic, not scientific. I'm just
Fine.
kidding.
Maybe that's how he thinks. I'll give you
That-
a better analogy.
it also has like almost water sounding effects to it in my head when I hear it. It sounds like it's something traveling through water. So if you've ever like heard sound whilst underwater, it sounds like distorted and stuff. So it sounds like it's gone through something that's distorted it even beyond that, and it's screechy.
It's interesting you bring that up. This sound always reminded me, there was a job I had in college where I installed and cleaned blinds and window coverings. And we'd take the window coverings, bring them back to our shop, and there's a special machine we used to sonically clean the blinds in water. And you had to turn it on, and that's the sound it makes. Is very much that sound as it's cleaning the blinds with sound waves through water.
Brett's like, oh, my teenage job.
And I was like, oh, college job coming back to haunt me.
I'm a pretty simple gal. I was like, ooh, ears bleeding. Ow.
Exactly.
It's like deaf rap or deaf poetry.
To me, it sounded like two beams of light arguing while chewing ice. Can you hear it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Two beams of light arguing whilst chewing ice.
That's the sound Clark hears. No wonder he wants it to stop.
It was kind of weird, the reaction of everyone to Clark's being like, ah! If you saw anybody in life just clasp their hands to their temples and be like, ah!
Exactly. You wouldn't get mad
I think
and
he
be
was
like, what are
tweaking.
you doing? Oh, jeez.
Well, he's like, do you hear that? And then Claire's like, what are you, part canine? It's like,
Yes,
like, no,
they
I'm
were so
dying.
mean.
oh my God.
They'd be like, are you okay? Not, Clark.
Yeah, I'd be like, whoa, we're going to the hospital right now. That's not normal.
You know, he rushes home and he gets to the barn and he's like, you can tell that something's calling to him now. And in my head, I thought, the gold calls. And now I'm dead certain that all 882 Aztec pieces called to the pirates like this.
In a painful way?
Yeah.
Ice, chewing ice.
Yeah. They were like beams of light arguing and chewing ice. But there you go. There's a Pirates of the Caribbean reference.
Oh, if you want those to stop, please comment.
It's just been one.
We actually get a comment that's like, stop the pirate references.
Oh my, if we do, I really will never mention it again. Oh my gosh. So he's back in the cave. And this time it's
reals.
for realsies. Sticks the key in the slot.
And we get the Superman colors.
I was kind of sad and let down. I was like, what happened? Tell us.
Yeah, so the key, they get a yellow glowy piece, a red glowy piece, and a blue glowy piece.
And it opens up into the shield.
The shield shape. And then Clark gets a beam of light
Burst
through the
of
heart.
light.
It's all of the light beams
Burst of
arguing
knowledge.
And the
that
ice
go
is
through him.
melted, and so he gets the joyous sound.
So this is kind of a fun call out because prior to this episode airing, an episode of Stargate aired where the exact same thing happened to a character.
This felt the most science fiction to me that we've ever seen.
Yeah, so there's this in Stargate, they go to this planet and then there's this device on a wall and the character looks into it and gets all of this knowledge of an ancient culture and people downloaded into his brain. And then throughout the episode, he's speaking and reading a language he doesn't actually understand and he's like doodling and he accidentally is like
It's a really good episode.
doodling all this stuff. It's actually really, really well done. And so this episode is just like that. It's a very
so cool.
much the same exact plot. Now Clark has had the language of Krypton downloaded into his brain or
Well, we
soul
don't know that
or
yet.
being because it goes through his
I had
chest,
no
not his
idea
head.
until later.
Yeah, so all we know is laser beam, and it looks painful.
Yes.
Find out later
shooting
that
through
we
his
find out
chest.
later that it wasn't painful. It looked painful though. Lex finds Clark in the cave, so this is now the second time he's found him unconscious, and the key is not there. Clark looks at the hole and he's like, "The key." Oh. He assumes it disintegrated or evaporated like an idiot.
Yeah, not just shot out.
Oh,
stuck
and Lex
somewhere.
is like, "What are you, narcoleptic?" At this point, like, what is Lex thinking?
Well, he says the guards say there was an explosion. Where?
Yeah.
What guards?
Well,
What explosion?
you
What-
get a more third-person view later when somebody puts the key in again, and there is a crack sound that
I
happens.
guess.
It is a little weird, but then it just piques Lex's curiosity even more.
Clark knows more than he's telling.
Yeah, so we're going to keep an eye on him, of course.
So let's hit a B storyline in our next scene.
Yes, let's.
Where Lana asks to borrow Chloe's computer to do her genealogy assignment. Well, while she's there, she happens to see there's a whole file for a Clark Kent.
I wrote down all the files.
Oh, okay, what you got?
We got art project, basics, bloodwork files. That's the one I would have clicked.
Well, if you're looking at it, I'm looking at it right
Yeah.
now. If you pause on 1203, it's actually a sub-file that has CK under bloodwork files.
Oh my.
Oh.
I don't know if that...
I don't think it is.
Okay.
They might not... The file tree here looks like they just put stuff there and
Okay.
put symbols next to it.
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't know
fair
if they
enough.
put that much thought into
I think
it.
you'd have to click on that blue arrow and it would open up the bloodwork files.
Click on the carrot. Okay.
Yeah, maybe that's how it works. Like things with more things in them.
Yeah.
Okay,
open up.
all right.
So anyway,
continue.
back to the list. We have C.K, Clark's project, experiment,
I'd click on that one.
feature, parentheses torch, genealogy assignment, which is what Lana should be clicking on, honor roll pics, and info.
She does click on the genealogy assignment first and downloads the thing. And then she scrolls up. I will say this is actually the most realistic mouse movement. Because usually if you watch any type of movie, TV show, whatever, where they're using a mouse on a keyboard, it moves like super smooth and slowly. Like it's not moving how you actually move a mouse. This actually
this
looked a
is
lot more natural.
Probably real. She was
Yeah,
probably
maybe.
just, like scroll up.
But yeah, she clicks on seek.k.
And it's not even like that risque. It's just some pictures from a dance.
Yeah.
Like,
and I'm like, C.
not that big of a deal.
Like, would she
Why
automatically
is it a
be like,
secret? It should just say spring formal pictures. It's not even
Right.
that. It's not even that intense.
I know. I thought Chloe did overreact just a tad, but I get snooping. I get that. That's annoying.
It's a bit rough.
But I hate that she's so defensive about it, I guess.
Yeah, she doesn't want Lana involved with Clark already more. Bleh.
Yeah.
It's kind of annoying. It's very teenager, too. I think if this were written today, they would probably be more risque.
Yeah. But here's the thing, Lana. If you get caught, you lie. You say, I accidentally clicked on it, and then it was the pictures of the dance I didn't go to, and I want to see what the dance was like. I was busy that day in a tornado.
Yeah.
And then Chloe been like, oh, okay. Just do a little gaslighting, Lana. It's not that hard.
And now, is it fair for Chloe to say everything in this office is now off limits? Is it fair?
In that moment?
Yeah, in that
yes.
moment, sure.
There needs to be a consequence.
I don't know if it's valid.
But is the office hers? No.
Yeah. It's her domain. It's her baby.
Yeah.
I think saying it is fine, but
Yeah, I understand saying that in the moment. And then she does apologize later, which is good. But she does have a point, is behind her hurt. She says, in Clark's delirium, when I visited him, the only thing he said was Lana. And it's like, yeah, girls do get mad when they're in a love triangle. They don't like it.
Hell hath no fury.
Sister wives aren't even sister wives anymore. They're just
true.
wife. And
Exactly.
ex-wives.
It never works, ever.
then we get to the whole thing with Clark keeping his secret about what he did in the cave from his parents. This is the second time, I think, in the show that Clark has kept a secret of this magnitude from his parents. And they always backfire on him.
Well,
Always.
I think why he justifies it is because Martha hid the key last episode and was keeping secrets from him. And he's like, I don't want to hurt her because I don't want to leave her. So I'm just not going to say anything.
Sure, I get that. This is going to have consequences. Apparently his brain does not like being secretive because...
Yeah, explain why his eyes do this.
Yeah, and he has no control.
Well, it kind of goes back. It's a similar plot to like that Stargate episode where there's some involuntary things to having all this downloaded into him. It clearly, it's almost like part of him is trying to let his conscious brain know what's actually happened.
He spells the word hope, we learn, with his eyeballs. Mm-hmm. I feel like as a teen, it'd be like boobs or something. Like something else more normal. Like who's eye firing out the word hope on a barn? Like, come on.
But this is not the last time Clark is going to draw on walls with his laser vision, right? Heat vision.
No, he's not.
Daniel's
no, it's
spoiler
not.
king of the day.
That's not
We get
like
foreshadowing. We get clues about the future.
I'm just saying that this isn't something that's a one-timer.
Fun fact.
It's done a lot better later. I will say, like way better later, and this is much later. This is in like 6 seasons.
Okay, but to this episode, how convenient is it that Chloe pulls up right as they put out the fire?
At least they mentioned that she was on her way to pick him up.
Oh,
right,
that's
at the
true.
very least. So it's not like random occurrence too much. But yeah, she would show up and she would take a picture, of course.
Jonathan and Martha have got to be like, oh, we love Chloe, but she always has a camera.
I know.
She's always digging.
I wrote either Chloe has poor timing or Clark's brain has poor timing.
Right. It's just one of those like fate things because if Chloe didn't take the picture, Swan wouldn't see it.
Yeah,
Nothing
it's
moves.
kind
So
of important.
you have to have it happen, but at the same time, geez.
But what are Jonathan and Martha thinking? Is this the next step in puberty? He starts like drawing
Drawing weird
symbols in the
symbols.
barn.
Right. At least it's not a penis.
That's what you would have drawn.
He's not shooting fire out of that
Right.
either. So
Exactly. But he does end up telling them after this, it means hope. I put the key in. I know the whole language now.
Don't
Which
know
is
how.
So cool.
Yeah.
I wish I could just be a second language.
I know.
It would be
loaded.
super cool to be able to be given knowledge that way.
yeah.
This is a common sci-fi occurrence. This happens
in the Matrix.
in Matrix, happens in a video game series called Mass Effect. This is the idea of being able to transfer information in a completely different way so that your body absorbs it almost is really, really cool.
So cool.
We get to the Talon and Clark is doodling on
He's
his
doodling-
family tree
yeah,
sheet.
which I felt like whoever assigned this homework was like, here is this thing. Fill it out with names. I don't have any sisters. Who am I putting on that paper?
Yeah.
Do you know, like, couldn't you make it more freeform, teacher? This is a very hard assignment for some people to do. But anyway, the thing that I noticed about this scene was the music. That Coldplay song. Did it hit anybody in the nostalgia?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was good. That might be one of
Yes.
the most popular, like most well-known songs we've heard in a long time. So I thought I'd bring that up real quick. Clark he's writing words on the genealogy assignment in, I'll say, Kryptonian.
Yep, that
Right?
is the correct way to say it.
He ends up kind of getting bugged and throwing it to the side. These people are terrible
Yeah.
at making things into the garbage can.
It's true. Chloe couldn't put her love letter in the garbage. Now Clark can't put his secret symbol cipher, I guess at this point, in the garbage.
Pick it up and read it.
But did
I
you
know.
notice when he says to Lana, because she sits down for a moment to talk to him, and he's like, "Can I tell you a secret?" Her eyes are that of a hungry badger.
A honey badger.
She is like
hungry honey badger.
a hungry, horny honey badger. She's just look at those eyes. Like we have this playing on the screen right now. Go and check that scene out again and just look at her eyes slightly widen a little bit. She looks like a starved animal for Clark's secrets.
Just
really good
18.
acting. Really good acting on Kristen Krug's part. But also I was just like, wow, Lana, calm
That's
down.
intense.
And he kind of does give her a bit of a taste of the secret. He doesn't really tell her anything major, just I'm looking into my history, my past.
But it's still something he's not articulating to anyone else.
It's true.
Which means she's the one that gets it. And she's eating that up like
lusty candy.
crack cocaine.
Where do you call it Clark Kane from now on?
Clark Kane?
Lana's Clark Kane. If you like that, please comment and let us know. Lex, of course, finds the stupid paper.
And he tells Walden he may be the Rosetta Stone we're looking for. And so I thought, do you know about the Rosetta Stone? I have a little history for you.
Oh, hit us.
Yeah.
Do you know when it was found?
No.
What's your guess? What year?
1900s. Early 1900.
I would say like 1850.
No, I've got nothing.
Okay. So it was discovered in 1799.
Oh.
French soldiers discovered the stone in the Egyptian town of Rosetta.
Oh my.
Which is, it's modern day El Rashid. The stone was found by an officer in Napoleon's army.
Oh, well, thank you, Napoleon. You were a short emperor, and you got us the Rosetta Stone because of your imperialism.
Yeah, so essentially the stone, it's an artifact that helped us unlock the Egyptian hieroglyphic script.
Yep, because it had the same phrases repeated over and over again in 3 different languages. And that's how they were like, oh, well, we know Latin. We don't know this. And then we have the hieroglyphics. That really helps.
One last fact. How much do you think it weighed? The Rosetta Stone.
I would say a pound.
600 pounds.
Brett?
And nothing.
1,680 pounds.
So it was
It's
a
big.
boulder.
It's
Yeah.
huge.
Oh my gosh, what?
So there you go. The Rosetta Stone.
Wow.
How did they lift that bad boy? That's a lot of people.
Where's
lift
it
that
at
thing.
now? Do we know?
I don't know. I didn't look.
Some museum. Maybe the
I'm
Louvre.
sure. It's somewhere.
Of course, Lex finds the paper. I feel kind of like if Clark were to come to Lex and literally tell him all of his secrets right now, that Lex would be fully supportive and actually be an extraordinarily strong advocate to protect Clark. That's what I think. But I want to know if any of you disagree. What if Lex were to be told by Clark everything firsthand right now?
I think his intentions would be good, but it would fail miserably.
Would you have preferred that over the secrecy?
I would have. Honesty is always my preference. I feel like he would have good intentions. Exactly.
It would just change the whole storyline, like 100%.
Do you think it would change it in a fun way, or do you think it would make it not as
I
fun?
think it'd be more boring.
I think due to the storyline that is Clark Kent versus Lex Luthor, you have to have that. You have to have it built this way.
It's like a cat and mouse
But
game.
Could it have still been a wedge that drove them apart, though?
Eventually.
I think clever writing could have done it.
I think it could have done it, but I think it would have been a different problem because
Yeah.
then Lex knows the whole time. But also, I don't think that it would have been helpful to tell the secret. I mean, I think Kim's right. Honesty is always the best policy, always. But I think that Lex, to Nicole's point, it would be good intentions. But Lex, the way he still is always trying to find the benefit to him. Always. How can this benefit me? How can I do this? Any problem he would run into, he would end up basically manipulating and using Clark.
And that would be a fun story point. I think it'd be better, but that's just me.
Let us know what you think, listeners. When we get to the next scene, we find out that Clark is mad at Chloe for being mad at Lana. And he's like, I will do this thing if you forgive Lana.
And Chloe's like, F you.
Yeah.
Doing that.
Like, why are you getting involved, you butthole, she says.
But Chloe's email's been spammed by someone called Swan, but it's not for Chloe, it's for Clark, because she has published the barn picture. Underneath the barn picture, it says hope. And Clark is like, that's what that means.
And let me just say, I didn't know early 2000s emails could do that whole thing where you have all those features in the email where it's like, here's a picture and then words later appear, like PowerPoint almost, and then the more
Yeah.
words appear.
Yeah.
Like I was like, that's some impressive stuff you did to that email to make it do that. I was like,
Swan is the king of communications.
I guess I just didn't know you could do that in the early 2000s. You know?
It's like a video file.
Right. Maybe you could do that with a video file. That's true.
And so Clark uses dial-up technology.
Yeah, did you hear the dial tone getting onto the internet?
Brett was like, oh, memories.
So he uses the dial-up technology with Pete in the barn to instant message Dr. Swan. And Dr. Swan sends him another letter in his Wingdings font that says that he's a friend and that they need to meet.
Okay, I'm just going to pause on our dial-up situation.
Okay.
For those of you that are too young to understand how dial-up works, it has to be connected to your phone line. Do you know how long of a phone line cord they had to do to run that out to the barn?
I'm sure he has a phone line in the barn.
I doubt it.
I guess.
So I have a question about Kryptonian language.
Yes.
Does every movie have different, or do they kind of like all base their own?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
I've never seen another movie do much as far as like the written language, and not even close to Smallville, let alone if at all. Really, I think you get a little teeny bit in Man of Steel.
Do you think they took it from the comics? Is it in the comics?
I don't remember
Daniel,
those
do some research.
particular symbols in the comics. I'll look it up, and maybe we could do a little post about
Fantastic question.
it. Based on what I know, I would guess that Smallville made up this particular set of characters for the show to be unique to them, but we'll find out.
And my next question is, do they stay?
Do these symbols remain consistent throughout the show?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they do.
That's so
Wingdings.
cool. So they don't just make up a new one each episode.
No.
Oh, I love it.
No, they I mean, you get more and more stuff that's like, oh man, this is actually Superman as the show goes on.
Back in the cave,
Walden finds the key.
and he puts it in. And at first you're like, oh. But then like the symbol, it goes red, yellow, blue, whatever. And then instead of doing the shield, it becomes this schism of chaos. And it shoots him, and not in a fun way.
He doesn't
Rocks him
get the
back
nice
to the
treatment.
wall.
He's the wrong person, which I like that there's some security built into this key.
Yeah.
Because sometimes in stuff like this, there's no security built into any of it, and like anyone can grab it, and it kind of sucks, and it makes dumb plot things. But I like that this was kind of a security thing.
Yes.
I will say though, I don't really like MacGuffins. And if you
What do
don't,
you mean?
if you don't know what a MacGuffin is an object that is plot central that the plot can't happen without. And it's usually a small object that everyone's kind of chasing down. So a particular MacGuffin is, if you've ever watched Star Wars Episode 7, the MacGuffin is like that map to Luke Skywalker that everyone's looking for, that you can't have the movie without that plot point. I don't really like MacGuffins. But as far as MacGuffins go, this is not a bad MacGuffin. It's just that other people lately in the last like 15 years have done terribly with them. You have a lot of them in like more and more things, and they can get really annoying.
Never heard the phrase MacGuffin before.
It might be just like a YouTuber phrase that I've heard from several YouTubers that I like to watch,
I
but
think I'll name my next son that.
MacGuffin.
MacGuffin. He's a small object everybody wants.
They should make onesies that say MacGuffin.
I'm the little MacGuffin. Now Walden's going to be all catatonic and stuff. Mm-hmm. Isn't that exciting?
It was so creepy, and I was like, oh, finally, I hate him.
Well, what did you expect to happen to him, Kim?
I don't know, but I really loved that happened. Like that his puny human body couldn't process
But
what
I
was
have
given to
a
him.
theory.
Oh, please.
It just occurred to me. I think Walden would have died, but Clark walked in and the device got confused.
Wow.
Interesting. That's an interesting theory.
I like it.
And I think Daniel and Brett know why I have this thought now that I've never had before.
Yeah. Because this isn't the end of this whole plot point around Walden. He's not being written out of the show just yet.
Dang it.
And then Clark is deflecting. It's funny because like Nicole and I watched these episodes separately, and I was sitting there watching, and she was hearing it, and she was like, deflect, Clark. Just
Yeah,
heard her in the
always.
background.
But what's nuts is that Lex thinks that the language is alien. And he's like, Clark, I think this is an alien language. And you were unconscious in the cave, and now he's unconscious in the cave, and Walden has information overload. Something's going on. I think you know.
Yeah.
And Clark's like, no, I just get junk mail sent to me at the hospital.
Someone comes to find me privately. So some things I thought were really interesting about Virgil Swan. So Virgil Swan in this character, for those of you that are not paying attention to this, the actor is the same actor that played the original Superman movie.
Yay!
Yes, I actually have a little bio if you'd like.
Please.
Please.
His name is Christopher Reeve. He was an American actor, director, producer, screenwriter, and author. He is best known for his role as Superman in the 1978 film. In 1995, Reeve was paralyzed from the neck down in a horse riding accident. He spent the rest of his life in a wheelchair and reliant on a breathing apparatus. After his accident, Reeve became a leading advocate for spinal cord injury research and human embryonic stem cell research.
Yep.
I did not know it was an accident. I thought it was like a disease that his body was.
Like ALS
Yeah.
or something like
Mhm.
yeah.
That's
But yeah, it was a
exactly.
horse riding accident.
But he also loved Superman his whole life.
So he was probably honored to be.
And everyone
in
was
this episode.
honored on the show. Like
That
Tom
he
Welling
would.
talks about it a lot. And Michael Rosenbaum, I've seen him in Talkville talk about just how great he was to work with, how much they all loved Christopher Reeve. And they were like always begging to have the show bring him back. And they really wanted to honor him after his death as well.
Oh, I love that, you guys. So it shows a magazine that Clark is looking at. It's The Time, right? And it says Man of the Year. And it's 1978 when he was Superman. I wonder if they just added, if this was real and they just added Virgil Swan.
I don't
Like
know.
it
I
looks
don't
like,
know.
I don't know.
But I do love when they, in any movie, when they're able to use old pictures of an actor or actress
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that.
and put that in. So whether it's that or not, I love that they've got this young picture of Christopher Reeve here.
Which is just like basically a Clark Kent picture, you know?
At 27 minutes and 20 seconds for anyone watching.
So this whole episode, if you like the original Superman movie from the early 70s, this episode really is going to give you chills. If you haven't watched it yet, I recommend like going and watching the original Superman movies and like then watch this episode, because you're going to get a lot of things that they've literally lifted directly from the script of that very first Superman movie and put into this episode.
Including music.
Really?
So
It's
the
super
original
fun.
John Williams music.
So to get a modern reference on this, if you've seen Spider-Man No Way Home, where they tie in the other Spider-Mans and everyone said, oh, they did that so perfect to just close off all these stories and it was nostalgic and brought this all together. This episode of Smallville did that for any Superman fan.
We'll get into that in a second, but first we want to talk really quickly about two things. First of all, Chloe does make up a little bit with Lana, and it's kind of cute,
Yeah.
but also kind of weird.
I think it's still weird that they're living together. I think it's so cute that Chloe and her dad took Lana in, but with everything that's going on, it's weird.
Yeah. And then Chloe's like, I put my sister and it's you. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
We choose who our family is.
And then Clark tells his parents about where he's going to go. He's figured out that he needs to go to the planetarium in New York. And his parents are like, no.
See, why don't they just go with him?
Well, there was this moment, I think because Clark says he has to do it alone and they respect that. But there's this moment right before Clark shoots the symbol with his eyes where they're talking about the baby coming. And Jonathan says, this isn't going to change how I feel about you. The baby's not going to change how we feel. Then later in this scene, Martha's like kind of weepy, like, you're going to find out where you come from and you're going to leave. And I'm so nervous. And Clark says, no matter what I find out, it's not going to change how I feel about you.
Oh,
It's the exact same thing. And so they both get to have that, like, yeah, I told Clark that yesterday.
yeah.
That the new baby isn't going to change anything. And him learning isn't going to change anything. And it was just this really, really good moment of them, like, all being together and, like, embracing. And I loved it. And I felt Martha's sadness and fear. Mm-hmm. And it was really good.
To your point, Kim, they actually do say, let's do this together. Let's go to see him together.
I remember this now.
And then Clark, in typical teenage fashion, no, this is something I need to do on my own.
Which is good because I don't think that the following scene with him and Christopher Reeve would be as impactful with Martha and Jonathan.
No.
No, because
True, but they could have been in
Jonathan's a
the car.
hothead. Jonathan's a freaking hothead. He would have
And
ruined
trust
it.
nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very true.
So let's talk about this scene. This is one of my favorite scenes in the first 6 seasons.
Wow.
Aww.
Clark visits Superman. You know?
Or Elon Musk.
Or Elon Musk.
The king of communications. He's got the more satellites than anybody else.
So he shows up, and oh man, Christopher Reeve's acting in this is just so good for being paralyzed, especially too.
Oh, yes.
And he uses his like speech to get the computer to do what he needs to do. And he has him pull up these symbols. And I will say that it would be hard to read that even if you could understand the symbols because of the way they're like moving across the screen.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine English doing that and be like, Nicole said that she wrote down
I wrote down
every
everything.
single thing it says. And I think we should repeat those here in this episode.
Yes.
So the first message is, this is Kal-El of Krypton, our infant son, our last hope. Please protect and deliver him from evil.
Did you get chills when he said that? I did.
I have chills right now hearing it again.
It's so good. The way that Christopher Reeve delivers it, and then the words themselves, that is lifted directly from the script of the original Superman movie.
Aww.
And then you get to hear the Superman theme play a little bit in the background, which is fun.
Yeah.
And then what's the second message?
We will be with you, Kal-El, for all the days of your life.
Oh.
And Christopher Reeve, and Dr. Swan, I should say, I can't not say his real name, but Dr. Swan then comes out and says, you won't find the answers by looking to the stars, only by looking into yourself. Because Clark is like, well, what does all this mean? What do they mean by all this? What do they mean by they'll be with me all the days of my life? I don't understand. And he's also probably pretty touched. He's like, they're words from my parents. And then he asks, do you think there are others like me? Do you know if there's others like me? And what does Dr. Swan say? There was only one message.
Which breaks Clark's heart because I think he was thinking, I'm not alone.
Yes.
There are more of people like me. They sent one for every country. There's one in every state. There's more than one. There's two. There's three. There's a girl.
Well, and he doesn't even know that his parents are dead.
Right. He assumes the planet is still there and he can go there. And then he
Yeah.
learns in this meeting the planet's gone.
I do love the way that Virgil Swan tries to calm him because Clark says, what, you think I'm this Kal-El? No, I'm just Clark Kent. And he goes, no, Clark, I'm not trying to expose you. Like,
Yeah.
I love that he's just like, no, I'm just letting you know.
I just love science.
He's like, I just want to know that I'm right. I just want to know the truth. I love that. It's
Well, he
so
probably
good.
devoted his whole life to this research. So
Yeah.
to finally meet Kal-El, he's like, just tell me it's true, you know?
Yeah. He wants to know that the math that he did and the efforts he's gone to decipher and understand this are not in vain. Oh, it is really good. Did you love this part? Were you just like smiling and like happy?
Exactly. Like a smile from ear to ear. And I was just like, oh, this is the coolest thing we've come across since the cave.
Well, we're finally getting into the plot.
Yeah.
We're finally getting into the real actual plot of this show.
We've been saying meteor rock, kryptonite interchangeably because we know that it's not meteor rock, that it is kryptonite, that it's Krypton, that it's Kryptonian. We've been kind of avoiding saying it because he didn't know. But now we can just say it and it's great.
You're going to start to see more people say kryptonite and Kryptonian. And this is good stuff.
Only one thing left for Clark to do.
Yeah, is to actually go to the ship, and he knows something else now that we didn't really get to see on screen that he's figured out. So he's in the storm cellar, and Jonathan comes up to him and talks to him. And what does Clark explain to Jonathan about how he feels?
He's all alone.
He feels totally alone.
Yeah.
Which, no, he's not. But you also understand how he feels. Like, if you're the last of your people, as far as you know, and you're adopted and you have all these people that love you, you still feel loneliness that the people that are actually your people are gone.
Right. Like, he's not alone, but absolutely there's a uniqueness that says there's no one that will truly understand me.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like an orphan when they get adopted and they're like, no matter how much your parent tried to give you up for adoption for good reasons, you'll always feel like you were abandoned, right?
Yeah. Well, and he asks early in the show, like, what was going on there that they had to get rid of me? Why did they have to send me here? And Dr. Swan says, well, disease, famine, there's a lot of things that could have happened. I mean, look at the world we live in. Is it that hard to believe?
Does he ever find out why it was destroyed?
Yes. I think the show explains it. I don't remember what this show's explanation is because there's different interpretations. the original. I think it follows more of the original movie interpretation, not the Man of Steel one.
They're pretty close to the same, but yeah.
Yeah, Man of Steel takes it a little different thing, some of the stuff. But
Okay.
we should also watch that after we've done all this too.
So Clark takes the heart of the ship. That was the very first Kryptonian thing we saw, even before we saw the ship from episode 1. He asks his dad to stay and be a part of this moment.
Which is great. Finally, let's do this together.
They put the heart in the ship, and a message appears in like the belly of the ship. It says, "On this third planet from the star, Sol, you will be a god among men. They are a flawed race. Rule them with strength, my son. That is where your greatness lies."
And Clark immediately interprets it as, I think I was sent here to conquer.
Yes.
Which is how I interpret it. And
Well,
did you interpret
but
it a different way?
But you didn't hear the tone. Here's the thing. This is again.
Well, I read it in the tone that I took it from.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you want me to read it again in a different tone?
Well, that's the issue with anything written is
Right.
you can't write tone.
Yes, and if you know, this is why we need to go watch this movie. The way that Jor-El says this, he says it in a voice recording to Clark. It is very, very differently, and it's way different to
Are
interpret.
you talking about, Russell Crowe's interpretation?
No. This is 1978.
Oh, the original one.
Original
Like
movie.
he says it with like a loving thing, and it sounds like a very loving father saying it to him, and it's soft and it's like encouraging. And I want to remind you and ask you all, what is Clark Kent's greatest strength truly?
His parents.
His heart.
His heart, his goodness,
Butt cheeks.
right?
Those two.
ruling with that strength, like that's the strength they wanted him to be instilled with, truly, was a heart of goodness. He's supposed to be the last good thing of Krypton.
And he is.
But
They're all dead.
But again, if you read that, just like they read it there, is rule with strength. You think it as you need to go and oppress them and force them into being better people. And that's not what it is, but it's how he's interpreting it. And it's understandable that like this
And
is
that
scary.
interpretation and that immediate wedge which gets driven here between Clark and his biological father is a major plot point of the whole cave sequence and this whole first 8-9 seasons of the show.
Oh, wow.
like this, I'm telling you, this is the plot of Smallville, truly, is my father wants me to do this thing and I want to be my own person, and trying to figure out how does he actually do what his father from Krypton wants and do what he thinks is right. And for a long time, it feels like those are opposites.
Wow.
It's going to be fun and boring and annoying at times.
Yeah, I let's prepare you a little bit, listener. If you've never watched Smallville before, this is where you get into really, really, really amazing plot points, and also some things that where you're gonna like just want to defenestrate yourself, be over it.
The episode ends with Clark and his dad hugging, and Jonathan's reassuring Clark, "You're good. We raised you right. You're not going to
my
be
son.
You're my son." And then they hug each other, and Clark's like, "Ah!" And then it like swivels to Jonathan, and he's just like, "Ah!" They're both like, "Uh-oh."
Well, now they really don't want Clark learning about his biological parents, because what if they were like these conqueror people?
Yeah.
Or what if
Yeah.
Krypton is a bad place?
So there's just some anxiety building.
Yes. Is that the end of the octagon since it like melted into the ship?
I don't remember. Is it gone?
No, it fused into the ship, sort of.
It became one with the ship? I don't actually remember.
Yeah, because it's
Don't
been
count
put
on
in
it.
there before, and it came back out.
It'll come back.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, don't you worry. I mean, it's they still have that slot in the cave. They're not getting rid of it just yet.
Was this super or man? I thought it was very super.
Oh yes, so like
Superman squared.
Hard super.
Yeah.
Hard super. You can't watch this series without watching this episode.
yeah,
for sure.
This is
good.
the pinnacle episode that kicks off the true plot of the show.
So this is random, but I feel like it needs to be said because it's fun and good. At the end of, I think, this episode, in the DVDs or at the end of when it aired, Tom Welling and Christopher Reeve do like a short 20-second PSA about Christopher Reeve's foundation.
Yeah.
It's like charitable.
Yes.
And so I thought I'd play it for you.
Oh,
It's only
please.
22 seconds long, so I'll just play it here and you guys can listen to it. You can find it on YouTube if you want to like watch it.
Please help us conquer paralysis.
Call the Christopher Reeve Paralysis Foundation at 1-800-225-0292.
Or visit the CRPF website at christopherreeve.org.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please. Please call.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that
that's
fun?
adorable.
I know, isn't that cute? So if you feel inclined, I'm assuming that foundation's still going, even though he's dead now.
We have no reason to point out this particular foundation other than we think that it is a great thing and we want to honor Christopher Reeve.
Christopher Reeve Foundation is alive and well.
Perfect.
Yay.
That's what I
So
figured.
I should say that listeners, you should look into the Christopher Reeve Foundation and see if there's something that you can do to help spread that awareness. It's great. And on that very pleasant and super wholesome note, let's end.
Thanks for remembering Smallville with us. Join us next week when...
It's another double feature where...
Clark picks up trash.
And Lex asks a question.
Four friends on a mission. Daniel, Nicole, Brad, and Kim. Talking Smallville every week. The podcast a gem. Smallville nights we laugh out loud. Every week they make us proud. Daniel, Nicole, Brad, and Kim. In the world we find our thrill. Heroes fly and legends grow. Stories shared, they make it flow. From Clark Kent to Lex's schemes, they uncover every dream. Smallville nights we laugh out loud. Every week they make us proud. Daniel, Nicole, Brad, and Kim. In the world we find our thrill. Keep watching tales of old. Their voices pure gold. Every twist, every turn. With them there's much to learn. Smallville nights we laugh out loud.